Welcome to part 1 of the unexpected gospel. But before we get into the gospel, we actually need to talk about something else that the Lord brought my attention to, and it is about your heart being able to receive it. And the heart actually does need to be prepared to receive it. And He showed me just the way to present it to you. We're going to look in Mark chapter 4 at the parable of the sower and the seed, and we're going to look at 2 Thessalonians Chapter 2. It sounds really different, but it's actually tied together. Jesus is telling us in Mark chapter 4 about this parable about the 4 different types of soil, and these are 4 different conditions of the heart, and the seed is representing the word. And so first, he talks about the wayside, when someone hears and then the word is stolen. And then he talks about the stony ground, where there's not much soil, no room for the root, and temptation comes and it gets scorched from the sun. Thorns, a thorny ground, where the word just gets choked out and it's completely unfruitful. And then the 4th is good ground. Good ground, Jesus says, are those who hear. This is a heart that hears, then accepts, and then bears fruit. So now I want to show you that the wayside heart, the stony heart, and the thorny heart, those 3 are actually the very opposite of the good ground. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. In that I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. Okay, there. All that was the life and good. Now he starts talking about the death and evil part. He says, but if your heart turns away, so that you do not hear, and are drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong days in the land which you cross over, etc. So this is the part that's death and evil. And notice what it says. If your heart turns away, so that you do not hear. Okay, so what do you remember? The wayside heart. This is the wayside heart. A heart that turns aside, that turns away, so that they actually cannot hear. So, funny thing, because Jesus actually says they hear, but the word gets stolen. The reason it gets stolen because they're hearing, but they're hearing with their heart turned away. So what are they actually hearing? They're hearing through their own understanding. And so it's just stolen away from them. And the stony ground cannot receive seed. It cannot accept. Remember, it said that good ground hears and accepts. Okay, so this is the ground that cannot accept because it just has no room for root. It has no room for it to grow. And then we have thorny ground, where everything is choked out that's planted there. Nothing can grow because these cares and this knowledge that is just human knowledge can't let it grow. It just chokes it out before it can mature. Now I want to show you what God showed me about this, and how you can get good soil, how he can cultivate your soil to be able to receive seed and have it grow and mature and bear fruit, which basically means to be able to hear his word to you, to be able to actually accept it, what he's saying to you, and for it to be able to bear fruit, which means for it to actually manifest in your life, for it to actually accomplish what it was sent to do. And here it is, guys. The one thing that will condition your heart, the soil of your heart, to be able to hear accept, and bear fruit. And it is in 2 Thessalonians Chapter 2. I know this seems unlikely, but we're going to have to ignore some things in this chapter until one day when I can actually explain what they really mean. But verse 9. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. This is telling you exactly what you need. Love of the truth is very important. And can you see why it's so important? Because if you don't love it, then why are you going to listen to it? Then why are you going to accept it? Then why are you going to let it grow in your heart, right? If you don't desire it. And I want to tell you a story because this is the moment that God changed the culture of my heart. He does this in you. But you have to be willing, you have to want to know it. And what he did with me is I got to the point where, and you may be here, where you're questioning things, and you hear things, you hear teachings, you look in the Bible and you think, man, things just don't add up. We can talk about the way the Bible is translated another day, because that's also part of the problem. But there were so many questions I was asking God, and I didn't feel like there was satisfactory answers from church, and even when reading the Bible, just the understanding wasn't coming. And so I told God, I said, things don't add up, and I want understanding. I don't believe that you made us to not have the understanding. I believe you want us to have this understanding, and I want to know the truth. I want to know the truth so much that I don't care if you tell me it's completely opposite of everything I've ever believed. I don't care if you tell me that everything I believed all my life is a whole complete lie. I want to know it, because I'd rather live in the truth than believe a lie. And I really want to know it, God. And so I was praying like this for quite a long time. And then there came a day. And so I already believe I started hearing from God there quite a bit, but I didn't understand a lot of what he was saying. And I would just write it down. And I still have everything I wrote down that he's ever really said to me. But I came to this one evening where I was sitting on the couch and praying, and I had been praying for this truth, and I was praying out loud, and I was by myself, and suddenly and at this point in time, I was even asking God to show me what he wanted me to ask him, because obviously I didn't know what I needed to know even. So I was asking him what I should ask him. I was asking him, I want you to show me what to pray, what to ask about. And suddenly I was just listening, and I was speaking to him. I don't know what I was saying, but suddenly I heard myself say this. I started saying, God, I'm sorry that I have not allowed you to be yourself. I have listened to so many people tell me about you. They have described you to me, and they have told me all about you. And I have just believed them. And I am sorry, God. I feel like I have just been listening to gossip all this time. And I want you to know that from right now forward, you can be yourself with me completely. You can represent yourself to me, and you can tell me who you are and what you're like. And I say that I heard myself say that because I really realized I was praying by the Spirit that this is what he wanted me to come to. And from that night, I felt something changed. I can't describe it, but I do know that after that, I started not only just hearing more and more, but I started understanding it. And I just did what I told him I was going to do. That if he told me the truth, I was just going to accept it. And so, do you see how he brought me into the good soil, into that he had to get me to the point where I had good soil, good ground that he could plant in, or else the seed was just never taking off, right? So he could tell me all this stuff, and I'm sure he's been telling me all this stuff all my life, but it was never taking root because my soil wasn't prepared. It wasn't able to hear properly past the understanding I was getting through my teachers and pastors and and the people I was listening to, and even past my own judgment of things and the things I would read and reading, and judging scripture according to the flesh and trying to take everything literally. And I could not see past that. So I could not hear right. When you can't hear right, you're not going to be able to accept the actual truth because it's not the actual truth anymore. When you're listening to God and it comes through a filter of your own understanding, it is mixed. And so it all becomes kind of like a lie or a distortion. And so what you accept is not actually the truth. So here, what we want is good ground that can actually hear the truth and accept the truth and bear the fruit of it. And I hadn't been experiencing the fruit